Another 750,000 Americans filed for unemployment last week. That's down from the prior week, but not by much. Mark Hamrick is a senior economic analyst for Bankrate. He is here to help explain what the new jobs report means for the economy. So, Mark, for the past few weeks, we've seen fewer unemployment claims filed, though the numbers are still high. This past week, 7,000 fewer people filed than the week before. What is driving these numbers?
Well, we're obviously, very deep into this downturn. This is the 33rd straight week of the downturn since we really had the lockdowns. And that depth and duration is helping to contribute to ongoing job loss. Now, also this morning, along with these figures from the government, the private firm Challenger Gray and Christmas did weigh in with its job cut announcements number for the month of October, and that was down by 30%. Now, mind you, not all mom and pop businesses are able to command the same sort of headlines as large companies that obviously garner attention when they make job cut announcements. But that is, I would say, some very positive news that we seem to be transitioning into a lower level of job loss. And slowly but surely, we're winnowing away on the elevated level of unemployment nationally. Of course, we'll get an update on that tomorrow morning with the October jobs report as well. So we're recovering, but we aren't at the destination we want to be at right now.
So what industries are seeing the most job cuts? Who's being affected?
This is very much, I would say, a similar story to what we've seen all along, Anne-Marie, and that is leisure and hospitality at the top of the list, bars and restaurants, some of which will be throwing in the towel, unfortunately, as cold weather sets in those climates where it's not going to be pleasant or reasonable to sit outside. Retail continues to be an area where we'll be losing some jobs as well. Obviously, we're now in the thick of the holiday shopping season, and brick and mortar is just not going to command the level of sales that it would in a typical year. So we're seeing some further changes for that area. One area that might slip below the radar is the energy sector. We still have essentially depressed oil prices. People celebrate that at the gasoline pump, but it's something that is bemoaned in the oil patch. And so energy is another area where we're continuing to see some job losses. And another one that might surprise some people is healthcare. Even though we have high utilization of medical services related to COVID, we've had a sharp drop in that utilization, including in dentist's office earlier in the year, where people just didn't feel like it was either safe to go to those offices, or indeed some of them were closed. Many of those have reopened since then.
All right, let's turn to the U.S. election. CBS News exit polling showed the majority of people who voted for President Trump thought the economy was in great shape. The majority of those who voted for Vice President Biden disagreed. From your perspective, how is the economy actually doing at this moment? And I wonder, you've started to see the market rally over the last couple of days. I have a friend of mine who works at one of the big Wall Street banks who said to me that, one of the things that they're starting to see on the street is the prospect of a Biden presidency, but a divided Congress. And Wall Street seems to like that.
So in terms of the perception on the part of voters is very consistent with our own Bankrate surveys, which we conduct all the time as well. We know that people see many facts or the lack thereof through a politically informed prism. And it may well be that people basically concoct these narratives to fit the story that they want to use to justify their support of a candidate. That doesn't mean they're necessarily wrong. It just means that helps to explain the differences. And that could also be within the backdrop of an economy that's performing poorly, because we know that during this so-called K-shaped recovery, and in many ways we've had a K-shaped recovery for years now, we have some that are doing very well, some that are not doing so well. On the conundrum that you're asking about there, how can it be that Wall Street likes the idea of divided government? I think that reflects the fear on the part of some investors that you can have activist government, either on the conservative or on the so-called progressive side, that enacts policies that could essentially hurt corporate profits. Now, I would argue myself that divided government isn't always a positive, to the extent that we have some long-term structural problems in the United States that need to be addressed, and to the degree that you have those problems that continue to fester and don't have solutions on the part of our elected officials, that's not a positive for the economy in the long term. You could put healthcare and infrastructure at the top of that list. But nevertheless, Wall Street seems to be just fine. Let's just say that's a proxy for investors in general, seem to be fine with the presumed outcome of this election. And to the degree that we don't have downside volatility, that obviously is a good thing.
All right, Mark Hamrick from Bankrate. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you.